Orgreave, near Rotherham, nothing but landscaped grassland these days. So peaceful you can hear the skylarks. But this site is now a second front opening up against the South Yorkshire Police force. The Battle of Orgreave, June the 18th, 1984.
But what we've got is an attempt to substitute the rule of the mob for the rule of law.
Kelvin Mackenzie's son immediately screaming the police version of events, just as it would do after Hillsborough. 5 years before Hillsborough, at the height of the miners' strike, but the same police force. The allegation that a mass police cover-up took place after Orgreave involving perjury and the doctoring of statements in the wake of police violence against the miners. The same police officers and solicitor evidence suggests that then established this as a blueprint for the cover-up said to have happened after Hillsborough.
The police were covering up, they covered up stories, they were replicating stories, and they knew what they were doing. They were breaking the law, and so somebody needs to be brought to account for that.
In a statement today, the new acting chief constable of South Yorkshire Police said,
"The Hillsborough inquests have brought into sharp focus the need to understand and confront the past and give people the opportunity to explore the circumstances of such significant events."
He went on,
"I would therefore welcome an appropriate independent assessment of Orgreave, accepting that the way in which this is delivered is a matter for the Home Secretary."
This force used the same underhand tactics against its own people in the aftermath of the miners' strike that it would later use to more deadly effect against the people of Liverpool.
We need a full inquiry into Orgreave in the same way as we did for Hillsborough.
Public inquiry?
Full public inquiry. This is the only way we can get all the facts out in the open, and if there is that awful Venn diagram that's being talked about between Hillsborough and Orgreave, then that also needs investigating.
Last June, an independent Police Complaints Commission report on Orgreave disclosed grave concerns about policing, but didn't call for a new inquiry. Part of that report was censored for fear of prejudicing the Hillsborough inquests. But yesterday, the Yorkshire Post disclosed some of the previously censored sections. An officer who was at Orgreave is quoted as saying,
"Something rings in the back of my mind. If it was Hillsborough, the officers in some districts were told not to write anything in their pocketbooks. And that concurs with something that happened at Orgreave. It didn't apply to me, but it applied to some of my colleagues, and they were very upset about it. They were more or less told what to put in their books."
There's lots of similar policing practices in operation at Orgreave and Hillsborough, a lot of the same contentious histories and narratives associated with both, and also a real legacy of discontent, particularly in the north of England, that we still don't have the full truth about these events.
Another previously censored section of the IPCC report says senior officers knew their ranks committed perjury in court after Orgreave, but did nothing about it. The report states that this raises
doubts about the ethical standards of officers in the highest ranks at South Yorkshire Police at the time. Some of those officers and the solicitor advising South Yorkshire Police regarding the Orgreave proceedings were also involved in the aftermath at Hillsborough.
I've not got a lot of faith in the system, I'm afraid. It's took this long, and it took the Hillsborough people 27 years. We're 30-odd years in, 32 years in, and we're still waiting for justice and the truth to come out.
And still more waiting, the Home Secretary is considering whether or not to announce an inquiry to get at the truth about Orgreave and the police force. Now the world knows the truth about Hillsborough and the same police force.